Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us for another episode here of Fast Break live on iSports Radio. On tonight's show, we talked about the James Harden trade that finally happened. Who are the winner? Who are the losers out of this trade? And what does this mean for both teams going forward after this? Plus, the NBA in-season tournament begun this past Friday. What is everybody's opinions on it? We'll give our thoughts here. Plus, we'll go over scores and news around the league. And maybe get a little preview of college basketball. But this is Fast Break here, live on iSports Radio. Your direct free for all your sports. And you're welcome to join us. And joining us as you shout tonight, ladies and gentlemen, lots to talk about, lots to get into here, live on the network. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to Miss Jib B, who does our Cleveland show. How you doing tonight, ma'am? Shout out to Terry Rodriguez. How you doing tonight, sir? Did a lot of great, especially covering the high school football. So I love that coverage you do every Friday. Keep up that great work. But thank y'all for tuning in tonight. Got a lot to talk about here tonight. No run over for us. I know we kind of run over here on the show, but we got a show right after this. Let's whine about sports. DC Talk with Mike Pat is right on after this tonight on a special night. So he'll be talking about the Ravens beating down the Seahawks, and then the Commanders beating the Patriots as well, and then probably talk about the Wizards just being, the Wizards. So he'll talk about that tonight. But D-Log, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing well, man. It was a rough game for my Bucks today, but on a good note, my Magic did take down the Lakers. So I'm in a great mood, actually.
Yes, indeed, the Magic did, and out-hustled the Lakers on that victory. But before we get started tonight, D-Lock, before we talk about James Harden, I did want to bring up Bobby Knight, head coaching legend, most notably for the Indiana Hoosiers for many, many years, and also coach at Army, famously coached Mike Krzyzewski, also the head coach at Texas Tech as well. Passed away a few days ago. Let me pull that up real quick. Passed away November 1st, actually. Come on. Passed away at the age of 83. Like I said, he was a head coach at Army for 1965 to 1971. And was the head coach of Indiana from 1971 to the year 2000 until, he was kind of pushed out the door. And then for 2001 to 2008, he was the head coach at Texas Tech. His head coaching career, his record was 902 wins to 371 losses. As a player, he's an NCAA champion in 1960. As a head coach, 3-time NCAA champion in 76, 81, and 1987. 524 appearances, 11 Big Ten regular season titles, NIT champion. So the accolades go on and on. D-Lock, before we move forward, any thoughts on Bob Knight's passing, and what do you think about him and his legacy?
You talk about one of the greatest of all time, Bobby Knight. We always look at him being as that tough coach to give that toughness to his players. We've seen the things as far as him, put his hands on his players. But my thing is, he was one of those coaches that was, a very much old school coach, and he did things that way. And I feel like it was, he made a very big impact moving forward. And it was shocking news to even hear that. But it also let us know that time flies. We got to appreciate every moment that we get. So those things that we remember, and I actually remember seeing the video of him making the face in his interview about players looking specific ways. So definitely rest in peace to Bobby Knight. He'll always be cherished. The moment that he's given us, and it definitely showed us, what a very disciplined coach could be, and the results that it is given. And it doesn't have to be just in basketball. It could be in any sport you're coaching. You're gonna use some of the techniques that he did because it was somewhat successful at some point. So for me, I appreciate knowing what Bobby Knight has done, good and bad, but more so looking at the success that he had, because that played a huge part. He was successful for a very long time.
I think for me, I think it's like this. It's like he's one of those, controversial figures in basketball. It's like, I know he just died, but it's like he's rough around the edges, and he was a hell of a coach, but he said some pretty wild stuff that, about how our standings are today, you probably wouldn't survive pretty long. So, I think, some of these coaches like Knight and whatever, I think they're kind of fortunate to came through the time that they did and had the success they did, because if they try to come through today's, climate, some of these guys probably won't last long. You don't got these tough, edge, type of guys here today in basketball and football. Who's the Ohio State coach that threw the punch at the Clemson player years ago? Never coached again. Oh God. Let me look. I'm trying to look that.
Coach Hayes.
I think so. Yeah.
You talk about Woody Hayes.
Yeah. Like, Woody Hayes, hard as nails, all that stuff. And then he punched that player, and even back then, he never coached again, because damn, you a little too rough. And, being a little too rough got Bob Knight out the paint in Indiana. And then, lucky for him, he, got on his feet at Texas Tech until he retired. His son took over. But, for me, hard nose, that last of the dying breeds of, like, those old school coaches. We lost John Thompson a while ago. Lose Bobby Knight. Lou Olson a few years back. So, So these guys, it's a dying breed. So RP to him. I know he'd be forever loving Indiana. Since he left Indiana, I think they made the championship game once, I believe, and that's like that Jerry Jeffrey squad, I believe. No, Final Four. Excuse me, because Oklahoma made the championship game. But yeah, they only made like the Final Four, I think, once since he left Indiana. Now, could his understudy, former player Mike Woodson, get to that promised land? Time will tell. But he made Indiana basketball. Indiana's a basketball state regardless, but he kind of made Indiana basketball. So, RP to him. And to the chat, Jen saying she praised him, Coach Knight. And she said, Bobby Knight throwing the chair is what got me to basketball. So, hey, people got their own quirks. My dad got me to basketball. That's how I fell into it. If Bobby Knight, throwing the chair mid-game is what you got into basketball. Hey, it is what it is. But that's for the Bobby Knight talk. Now for the talk that's been going on, we've been talking about here for a good while. James Harden, D-Lock, had finally got traded to the Los Angeles Clippers. He's been traded to the Clippers for Kenyon Martin Jr., Marcus Morris Sr., Nicholas Batum, Robert Covington, a 2028 first-round pick, 2029 first-round pick, a 2024 second-round pick, and a 2029 second-round pick, and $2 million to Philadelphia for James Harden and PJ Tucker, and a couple second-round swaps as well. D-Lock, we've been talking about this for a while. I think this really got pushed ahead that, Daryl Morey is a liar stuff. That beef going on. And then you see, I saw like Chris Haynes talked about it with the Inside the TNT crew pregame, talk about Morey and Harden haven't been really talking for a good while. And only like Elton Brand was like the middleman between both parties. And this trade really happened because he was supposed to join the bench here for Philly this upcoming Tuesday. But ownership was really one kind of spearheaded this trade and got it done. So says a lot more like Daryl Morey than James Harden's situation. But back to what Chris Haynes said, like I said, they haven't been talking for a while. And which, we saw to the point that James Harden's saying all this stuff. So the trade finally happened. D-Lock, what are your thoughts of Harden finally becoming an LA Clipper and going back to his home city along with PJ Tucker?
Well, my mind, I think that adding him on to the Clippers is a big bonus for them. He did come out and say like him in Philly, he felt like they had him part of a system, but he was saying that he don't need to be a part of a system. He is a system.
That's something. Go ahead. I was like,
I mean, for me, like when you say something like that, that tells me like you kind of saying that you. I don't see if he's saying that while he's in LA, he needs to have T. Lue to think the same thing. You're at a team where they're kind of building where they have a Russ already and a couple other pieces. So for me, like I feel like majority of the time, like he has to be the person that they plug in that plays his part. And I feel like, honestly, I feel like they won a trade. Like I feel like the Clippers really did win that trade in my mind. Like you get a player like a James Harden, and we've seen what he can be. But for me, like you got to be able to be that person when it counts. We're very consistent. A lot of people feel like that he's gonna mess up the chemistry that they have there, but I'm not too sure of that. I feel like it should work in the best possible way. But I feel like at the end of the day, James Harden could be James Harden. I mean, if he can be the best of himself, it plays a big part. You know, you got a Kawhi Leonard who we know who takes games off. And I feel like it's probably best that they have somebody else that can come in to be consistent. Now, that doesn't mean that this team goes and wins a damn championship this year. But I feel like they should be very competitive. I don't know what song it was that Drake said, "What a time to be alive." I can't think about it right now at the top of my head. Maybe you can see it. But this is literally what he said was true. What a time to be alive. We've seen a LeBron, a D Wade, and a Chris Bosh team. We've seen a James Harden, a Kevin Durant, a Kyrie Irving team. We've seen a Steph Curry, a Klay Thompson, a Kevin Durant team. We've seen a Bradley Beal, a Devin Booker, a Kevin Durant team. We've seen a Russell Westbrook, a James Harden, a Kawhi Leonard, a Paul George damn team. There's so many different combinations that we've seen. But with all of that, not even half of what I've named have won championships. Not even half of those teams. So, we see, the big talk about a trio. Hell, we're seeing a quado, as you would say, with, having a Russ, a Harden, a Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Like, you're seeing another very talented team. And the expectations, again, is very high. So I feel like this is a big win for the Clippers. It's about how they put these pieces together because they didn't really give up too much. And then you add on somebody like a PJ Tucker who can play defense, who we've seen play great defense against Kevin Durant when Milwaukee won a championship. So I love that move. But how impactful is this? I believe when the Lakers and the Clippers played a couple of days ago, PJ Tucker played. So now you're missing the James Harden, who was a big piece. But still, you got your defender on the James Harden. I'm on a LeBron or a Kevin Durant or Anthony Davis. So for me, this team could be really good. And we're looking at another team that has a big three or a big four, however you want to call it. We've seen so many different teams. So I think the Clippers definitely won this trade. I think that they are going to benefit the most. But hell, with this happening, man, like this makes me want to ask my dad, like, hell, how many times did you see outside of the Olympics, you've seen big superstars join one team? I've seen that literally multiple times in my life already. So we'll see what happens, but I definitely think that the Clippers is the team to. They should be a hell of a lot better with what they have.
I'll go. Let me go for the Philly side of things. Well, let me go with the Clippers side of things first for me. I think for me, all these guys, they like you just brought up, are they mid-30s? James is 34. Westbrook is 35. Let's see. Paul George, he's 33. And I'm trying to get Kawhi's date of birth. Let's see. And Kawhi, he is 32 as well. He's 32. So all these guys are kind of north of 30. And I talked about this in our season preview series, the last one, the Pacific Division. Now, at the time, I had them at 5th, but, in the same breath, I think you and I agreed, like, if these guys are healthy, they're one of the top teams in the West. But I think we also said, like, the uncertainties of Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, will probably have this team at the bottom of that division. Not saying they can make the playoffs, but we're having ball of the division. So this trade, it keeps them in the hunt. For how long? I don't know. You gave up a hell of a role players to make this happen. Granted, you got one back, but you gave up a lot. You didn't give up your main role player, Terrence Mann, which, like either here or there. I would got rid of the dude because I think that's a ceiling with him, but hey, what it is. But he's back home in LA. Me and you been doing this show for a good while, and it's like good 3 or 4 years in a row that this man has been traded. He has played for Houston, Brooklyn, Philly, and now the Clippers. When I tweeted this out, when the trade happened late at the night, when the news broke, I said, are the Clippers taking a rental, or this going to be a little bit of a long-term thing? That's a fair question. Now we know I talked about Steve Ballmer before. This guy's an owner that doesn't want to tank, wants to compete. So getting James Harden, you going to compete. And you brought it up. James Harden talk about, I am the system, blah 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 blah. That's not gonna work with this squad. You got a Westbrook. This guy had the ball in his hands. Harden, who's got to have the ball in his hands. Paul George, not necessary. He can move without the ball. We've seen that happen before. Kawhi, same deal. Sometimes he works very well with the ball in his hands as well. Zubac, he's just a rebounder, garbage player. Same with PJ Tucker. So for the short-term D-Lock, I think for the Clippers, I think they'll win this trade. But long-term, when this team's success, I don't know. And this is the conundrum they kind of get themselves into. You trade away more future draft capital, and your people are old as already. Yeah, you got like a BJ Boston, Kobe Brown, a couple young guys right there. But are they going to turn into all-star top of players? Time will tell. So I'll wait and see how this goes, because it's going to be a fit to see, and how he's going to fit along with these other three guys I mentioned. And for the Philly side of things, they got a nice collection of role players coming in, and it kind of help fill out the roster a little bit better. With this move, you can move Tobias Harris up to the 3 position instead of having that at that 4. So since you got Batum and Marcus Morris there, they could play that 4 and rotate between those two guys. So I think there, you 4 positions set, and you move, Harris up to that 3. If you're going to play Robert Covington, you got him there in the fold. KJ Martin there as well. So your depth at the 3 and 4 spot gets a little bit better after this trade. Defense and scoring wise, because like PJ Tucker, solid defensively on that stuff. But if some of y'all seen the stat line for him, he don't bring you jack squat on the offensive side. I hate to say that, but it'd be like donuts on the point side. And with these other guys coming in, they at least give you something on the offensive end.
This is true.
So I think that's where, you kind of look in the Philly side of things. So it's like, yeah, they lost some scoring, James Harden. Yeah, they lost some good defense from PJ Tucker. But I think the balance is almost kind of there. Because one of the underrated signings that they did was getting Kelly Oubre. And, Kelly Oubre right now is averaging about, let me pull it up. Right now, averaging like 21 points so far this season. So, from the score department, I'm not saying not having James there, having James there would help, but, Kelly Oubre's kind of picked up the slack a little bit. And, Philly really hasn't lost a step. They're 4-1 right now. Embiid averaging 29 points so far. Maxey, 26. And, we expect it, we talk about him. Are you going to take that next leap? Well, Harden gone. You're that number 2 guy now. And I think this kid's going to take the ball and run with it. And Oubre averaging 21 points. Harris, 20 points. D'Anthony Melton off the bench, 7 points. The Korkmaz guy, he's been trying to ask for a trade for Philly for years now. He's averaging 6 points off the bench. Yeah, I figure that guy right there may be more in rotation because all the forwards they brought in. So you may see a little more time out of him come out the bench. But I go to the front office for Philly. Are they going to try and flip these new assets into a never-star player? Are they going to let this ride? Because to me, D-Lock, I think they should let it ride a little bit. Don't be in a rush trying to find another superstar to add. See what Kelly Oubre does for you. See what he does up to the trade deadline, and then make your decision from there. They talking about Philly guy having $60 million in cap space. You still got to pay Tyrese Maxey. They'd be very foolish to let him walk under his with his development there. It'd be very foolish to do that. So I hope they make some strong decisions. Is Daryl Morey going to be part of these decisions? I wouldn't, because the way things went south with James Harden. And I discussed this on the show before. Because he's not a people person. according, like I said, Chris Haynes said, they ain't talking a good while. Do you want that guy making team decisions like that? I wouldn't. Am I trying to, if I got a championship window with Joel Embiid, do I want him to make those decisions? I don't know. I put more trust in Elton Brand trying to make those things done. So I think both teams, they kind of, won their trade. Feel like I said, Philly got those first round picks to go along with things. So, if they do flip for a superstar, hey, cool. Just make sure it's the right one. But if they don't, the guys I mentioned, like Maxey and Oubre, they kind of, taking the mantle and kind of trucked on forward.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, they got Philly. It doesn't seem like Philly has lost a step without James Harden. And it's crazy to think that we, seen a James Harden and Embiid, and we were expecting so much greatness, the connection, and we see that with every combination of superstars on a lot of teams, and sometimes, as I always say, not every team can win a championship. So now you're gonna have teams that are gonna, make it to the NBA Finals, not win. Hell, some teams ain't gonna make it to the NBA Finals. And it's just the experience of hearing from a Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers that didn't work. So they went a different route, and then they let go of Doc Rivers, and then that didn't work. Like, it makes me very curious. Is it the players that bring them in? Maybe it's the system of what Philly is trying to put together. But right now, when you see what they're doing, they're still looking very consistent. And maybe this team they have now is a hell of a lot better. And for me, to be honest, I think Philly is in a better position now without a James Harden. And it goes to test, like you said. I think both teams have won. I would say it's because James Harden is with the Clippers that they've won, but I don't think Philly has lost too much.
And Tommy, I probably listened to this thinking, I'm trying to get James Harden pass or whatever. I don't think, what he did and stuff was cool. You know what I'm saying? Because, he pulled each place he's been to the past 4 years, he pulled a stunt to get out of Dodge. So I'm not trying to give him a pass and trying to get where he's trying to go. But if you're trying to get somewhere, you kept a player option. You took less money. Like I said, whatever you and Daryl Morey discussed, something got broken, and y'all ain't talked for a good while. But show up to come to work. Granted, I read reports that he still got his monies, paid while he's been out. So, good for him. So, but for James, I hope going back home, back in the West Coast, LA dude. I hope he comes in focus. And hopefully, with those guys in the Clippers, Ty Lue, Kawhi, Paul, and Westbrook, don't put up with this crap. Get on his ass. Hey, man, you wanted to come here. All right, this is how things going to be. If you don't like it, you'll be a free agent this year. If you do James Harden things, hey, man, You can go sign with go sign somewhere else. But last thing, for me, like I said, Kawhi and them, hadn't taken too much rest yet. So I think getting another guy like this would kind of help with that, and Harden could do his things at a certain point. So that'll be a plus side for them. Are they going to win a championship? I don't know. I doubt it. The Warriors look out pretty good. The defending champs look pretty damn good. Jokic is on tier mode right now. The Mavericks look pretty good, so far. And like I said, the East, my title favorite, the Boston Celtics, look pretty damn good so far. Philly looking pretty good. So, it's a wait and see in my eyes. But I'll let you have the last word.
I mean, for me, like I said, I think that it was a good move, both teams. And I think James Harden make his debut tomorrow, correct?
They did say he's gonna play at MSG tomorrow. So, in a way, the Knicks been I'll take that back. I don't say all Knicks players, but a certain Knicks player that has been playing like boo boo, and
we ain't pointing no elbows.
They call this certain Knicks player every name in the book.
Yep.
So, yeah, he is gonna make his debut Monday in MSG. So that'll be all eyes right there. See how he plays there with this new group.
Yeah, so he probably gonna make his debut, but like I said, I feel like this team is. Every time I see one of these super teams, I be thinking in my mind like, y'all ain't got no excuse to be trash. You got all these people on your team. There's no way. But again, maybe I'm thinking about street ball by ISO, and every system is not ISO. So, we'll see. I think they should be pretty solid. But again, we'll have to check it out and see because you got somebody like Russ, James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi. Like it in my mind, this team got a lot of people that can score. Now they do lack a little bit of defense from time to time, but you got a good defender in Kawhi. You got a pretty decent defender in Paul George. So for me, and even having a bonus. Come on, bro. They got bonus and they got Terrence Mann with Josh Primo. This team is stacked with a Norman Powell. So for me, they're only lacking probably a big, but get things done with this team that you have. You got you a defender that can play the 3D and PJ Tucker as well. So I would expect a lot from this Clippers team.
So we'll leave it on that note. To go to some scores and stuff. Today's scores. Jen brought it up in the chat. Yes, the Cavaliers beat the Golden State Warriors 115-104. 28 points for Steph Curry in 31 minutes of play. 15 points for Jonathan Kuminga off the bench. 15 for Klay Thompson. 8 points for Andrew Wiggins. Draymond Green, 18 points for him. For For the Cleveland side of things, 24 points for Darius Garland in his first action of the season. 31 points for Donovan Mitchell, who's been killing it so far. Max Strus, 15 points for him. 12 for Jared Allen. 13 for Evan Mobley, who I still expect he got to get those averages up. He got to at least be, for me, he got to at least be an 18-point scorer this season. This is my personal goal for him. You know, Mobley, he got to at least be an 18-point scorer for me this season. Carries the 8 points off the bench for him. Niang, 6 points, 6 rebounds for him off the bench as well. The Hornets are up on Dallas 62-50. 15 points for Gordon Hayward. Ball has 2 points, but 11 assists so far. 13 points for PJ so far. Nick Richards, 10.6 rebounds off the bench so far. 2 points for second overall pick Brandon Miller, who's leading all rookies in scoring right now. For the Mavs, Kyrie has 9 points. Luka has 8, but 7 rebounds. Derek Lively, been playing pretty well since he's been in the starting lineup. 7 points for him, 5 rebounds. 6 points off the bench for Dwight Powell as well. The Suns, they win 120-106 against the Pistons. No Devin Booker again. No Bradley Beal again. But 41 points for KD. 21 for Eric Gordon. 10 points for Okogie. Cunningham, 26 points. Sasser off the bench, who I really love that pick for the Pistons. 22 points off the bench for him. Durant, 12-11 for him. Talk about the Phoenix Suns real quick, D-Lock. When we did our preview, I said you were shocked that I had them at 4th. But one thing I kind of question is, like, how many games these guys are going to play together, meaning Booker, Beal, and Durant. Do you think these guys going to play at least 50% of their games the way things are going right now?
Well, I mean, to be honest, a team has so much firepower, like they feel like they don't need to bring that firepower out every time they play. I don't agree with that, but you prime example, you play against Pistons today, and you feel like, well, hell, that's an easy win. We got clearly the guys to beat them. So there's players that don't play. But my biggest thing with this team, they played against the 76ers a couple of days ago after that. You need to have chemistry with this team. Now, I know it's we're about maybe most teams are probably 6 or 7 games into the season. You need to have a sense of chemistry with your group, with your core at some point. And a lot of teams, they get started a little bit later. They start to click a little bit, later in the season. We see with the Cincinnati Bengals, who started out terrible early in the season, but they're starting to click in the NFL. They're starting to click later on in the season. But for basketball, like I said, you need to have your chemistry with your guys. So a Bradley Beal, a Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, these guys got to know how to play with each other down the stretch. And this is the time to be able to build that. Because we know once Thanksgiving comes around, once Christmas comes around, once New Year's Day, the season starts to kick off for the NBA. And these guys need to be in that role of being able to stack these wins. So to answer that question, I would hope that they will be able to put in more than more than 50%. I feel like it is a must that they do. But what could hurt them is the injuries. And if they cannot get over those injuries, they're in some trouble. Because, these injuries can hurt, when they're available. So I don't know. It's a good question though, man. Right now, I think, like I said, I think they do get barely over 50%, but they got to be ready to come playoff season.
Yeah, I think the postseason matters. Of course, but I just like excuse me. I think it's just like damn, early this season and these guys are missing injuries and stuff like that. It's like yeah, I didn't play too much in preseason and stuff like that. So I was just like, ah, you know what I'm saying? You gave up Chris Paul and this stuff to make this move, and Chris Paul doing good things in the Bay so far. There's like other moves, like Jim B brought up, Struce. You trade away Mikal Bridges for Durant, and you kind of sorely missed that wing spot, you know, and you kind of lost some of that depth as well. So I hope they get it together. I hope these guys get back healthy. I'm kind of curious to see, what 20 point game scores can do, and the scoring these three guys can do. So I had to bring that up, talking about the Suns. Real quick, before we get out of here, what are your thoughts of the first part of the NBA in-season tournament that happened this past Friday? What are your thoughts of the court, the feel of it? What are your thoughts on it, real quick, early on?
I feel like because it's a in-season tournament, the energy is going to be brought a hell of a lot more with these teams, as you can see, with the fact that these teams know that some of these games are big. I mean, you're looking at, I think it was the Pacers. Was it Friday? Yeah, Friday, the Pacers and the Cavs, close game. Knicks and Bucks, close game. Wizards and Heat, close game. Knicks and Bucks, close game. Warriors and Thunder, close game. Grizzlies and Blazers, close game. So you had all these games that are fairly close because they know what is at stake. So it might be a good thing, man. I think, now this is early, and we'll see how that plays out. But I think that when you have these in-season tournament games, it plays a big part on how they approach, that. So I think the next in-season tournament games are Friday on the 10th.
Yeah, it's upcoming Friday.
Yeah, so we got some big games coming up. Then I actually see it looking at it now. You got Lakers and Suns, which is a big ass game. Clippers and Mavericks, Spurs and Timberwolves, another huge game. So it's gonna make the season even more interesting. I definitely like it. Thunder and Kings and Chet has been playing outstanding right now. So like I said, it's gonna make the season a hell of a lot more big for these smaller teams.
Yeah, I think for the smaller teams that don't have a chance, that could use this as like momentum, for the rest of the season, and maybe like a motivator for them as well. Like the Charlotte Hornets, for example, if they string enough good wins and in group play and carry on to Vegas, it could be a good motivator for them, and a good motivator like for Steve Clifford to keep his job. But I like the court designs. It made it made it feel different. The guys seem real into it. Some players still kind of question it, what we're playing for, and all that stuff. But it is what it is. But we'll see how next Friday's action is going to be, and who continues well in group play. Because you mentioned like the Grizzlies, they're 0-6 right now. Ain't a good look for them so far. Can they use this tournament to kind of get things going until John Morant comes back? So the schedule's looking at it's upcoming Friday, November the 10th, then Tuesday the 14th, Friday the 17th, Tuesday the November 21st, Friday November 24th. You finish out the group play on November 28th. So that's how the tournament's going to finish out the rest of the month. And then after that, whoever comes down in group play, ladies and gentlemen, will go out to Vegas for elimination tournament. And after that, come out of that, wins the tournament, wins the championship, and gets $1 million for each person. So there's that on the NBA in-season tournament. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I know sometimes we go over, but we got another show right behind us tonight. So thank you for tuning in with us. Jim B, Marcus, Los, great. I see you in the chat tonight, sir. Terry Rodriguez, thank you, sir. Mr. Larry B, the founder, in the chat tonight. Thank you for joining in with us tonight, sir. We will be back next week discussing the second part of the in-season tournament. College basketball gets up and rolling tomorrow. I know we didn't get to talk about that, but a lot of good games tomorrow. Mainly like USC, K-State tomorrow in Vegas. A lot of solid women's matchups tomorrow as well. On tomorrow's tip-off as well. But D-Lock, how can people find you on social media?
You guys can find me at Black-813. Black, the word -813. Let them know where you can find you at the show's page.
You find the show's page at Fast Break at IESR. That's Fast Break IESR. That's on Twitter/X. Do check out iSportsRadio.com for your latest shows, news, and feeds. A lot of great shows on the network. And a lot of good people doing those shows. So do check out iSportsRadio.com for your latest shows, news, and feeds. I do have an X/Twitter account, Spawn4288. That's Spawn4288. And also, I do another show on the side called The Crooks Process. You can find the show on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. You see the CP logo there. I do talk about the Teensy Titans and everything as well. So do check out The Crooks Process on those 3 social media websites. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk to y'all later. Like I said, college basketball in full swing. NBA talk, and whatever news are coming about. But we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.